Welcome, everyone. We are going to speak on the whole COVID awareness um, with our big special guest and host of the show is going to be the West Philadelphia Youth Environmental Justice Council, our future leaders. We just want to bring awareness to what's going on with the whole COVID virus and um, just answer some questions. Um, we have Nadir Austin, who's on the line, who's a chemical engineer. We have the one and only Lady B from Classic 107.9. We also have Dr. Anita Harris, um, and we also have Myra Houston, who's an RN too as well. So hopefully we can try to come up with some resolution here, what we can do to make things better as far as helping our own community, and try to stop the spread as much as possible, minimize that. So I'm going to go ahead and let you guys take the show. I'm going to share this out to everyone. We were just passionate about a lot of questions getting in, and let's do this. So where were we? Let's start from there.
Well, we were basically talking about, we talked about President Obama today, and we talked about how prepared he was for pandemics when he was in office. And Dr. Harris was talking about just how her hospital was involved in the special provisions that our former president had in place, and how we wish he was in place now to lead us and protect us and guide us to get a handle on this thing. So that's what we were talking about. I didn't know what Dr. Harris said, just how in depth that was, and just how prepared he was. I know that he had, I knew he knew, and he was making preparations should a pandemic hit this country. And I do know that the current office just erased all of his work, took it away, defunded it, if you will. And it's a shame that we are looking at what we're looking at right now, and with no preparation at all. It's like the kid who didn't do his homework.
So, first, I want to say thank you, everyone, for having me here. I'm actually streaming from Houston, Texas. So it's such an honor to be with my roots. I'm originally from West Philadelphia. So a little bit about me. I am Dr. Anita Harris. I have my doctoral degree in nursing practice. I am a nurse leader at a large Texas organization, one of the largest organizations here in the nation. So the current work that I'm doing has actually started back in a little bit before March. We did a lot of monitoring just on the exposure of the pandemic of the COVID-19 we call SARS pandemic, and we saw it when it first hit United States, and we started to set preparations up within our organization. So I am one of those leaders who is connected with, just from an exposure perspective, setting up cohorts within our organization and really identifying how we decrease the exposure when we're taking care of patients, and how we enhance the quality of care when we're taking care of patients. And so one thing that I always tell people to refer to is our CDC guidelines. It is so much research currently going on today on, the disease itself and vaccinations. And one of the things that they're looking at is antibodies, and really maintaining the, is it echo? I hear echo. I'm sorry.
Someone has a speakerphone.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Those echoes is my pet peeve. I've been in a virtual environment since March.
If somebody just did something different, you go back to what you were doing, because all of a sudden they came on with an echo.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you. And so I just wanted to set the ground. I can get very detailed on some of my work that I'm doing around COVID, but I am um, a true believer in the awareness of the disease and really looking at historically how we handle pandemics and you know um, ingraining into especially our youth that no one is left untouched. And
Okay.
so if you look at United States exposure rate, I am on the opinion to say it is not if I'm going to get it, it is when I'm going to get
When?
it. And so we have to start changing the way we think about the pandemic because guess what? It is our new norm,
It
you
is.
know. And however, there is evidence out there, scientific evidence that says if you clean your hands, if you wear a mask appropriately, if you social distance, my probability of spreading the disease to you and your probability of spreading the disease to me is less than 0.1%. I will take that probability rate over anything so I can protect myself and I can protect everyone else. And so I just wanted to do a quick introduction about, high level, some of the work that I'm doing. And I'm really in the weeds of the COVID um, care. So I talk about COVID-19 care when it talks about decreasing exposure, taking care of the patient, setting up new processes, and preparing my community.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Okay. As we are building this house while we're living in it, finding out what's going on with this unknown virus, I've never had an opportunity in your family, and I didn't even think to call you to ask you from a firsthand nurse perspective. It says it can hit anyone from any age. It can touch anyone from any background. It doesn't care about anything about you. It will jump on you and it will take your life. And
Absolutely.
so all the myths have been, thrown out the window about young people don't catch it. African Americans don't catch COVID. That's just wrong. And I was wondering, I saw a startling story yesterday out of Texas. The first young little girl lost her battle with COVID. And my question, I guess, is when it comes to seniors and children, do you find their symptoms to be different? How much does it vary patient to patient? Because I've heard stories like you can get a little bit of COVID or you can get a lot of COVID. How does that
So,
work?
so I think that's a myth. Myth. There's no such thing as a little bit or a lot. If you got it,
Okay.
you got it. It is a process within those 14 days where you go through the disease process from a incubation period, a latent period, and the actual disease itself. And that is anywhere from 24 hours of exposure up until the 11th day. But the safe point is around 14 days where the virus itself starts to die. However, when you get post 14-day, you go into what's called a latent phase where you shed that you're shedding dead cells.
Okay.
And so if you are retested during that process, the sensitivity rate on the test may look like you still have the COVID virus. And so the more we're learning about the disease itself, we're learning about just those different stages of where your disease is at and the points of exposure. And so, from a person who my primary care is to pediatric patients, pediatric patients are getting them. Pediatric patients are getting sick. It is an inflammatory process that the COVID disease hits. And when I say inflammatory process, it blows up all types of
Right.
organs in your body. What is happening to the youth is their morbidity rate. And when I say morbidity, that means additional sicknesses that they would never have had at 16, 17, 20s, like strokes
Yeah, like they're
and
now
blood
having.
disorders. And
Okay.
so what we're learning is that the disease itself is attacking what's called clotting factors in your bloodstream, and it's
Okay.
causing people to have all kinds of blood disorders. unfortunately, people are getting sick from it. Some people have different, and it depends on your immune response rate and how your immune system can attack
So
different
that's where the
diseases.
difference comes in, is how your immune system is reacting to this virus.
Regardless if I have a pre-existing condition, because remember they said that was one of the factors.
Right.
However, when we just had this surge, and the surge was surrounded around 20-year-olds, and if you go look at
All right, I froze. Why?
I froze a little bit too, but
Okay, we're
I
good.
think we're
All
all
right.
coming back. I'm starting to see some movement.
Okay, question answered, because I've been speaking to a doctor every day on my show. And, one thing I love about her, unlike some of these people who have a microphone and a voice, she gets it to you straight, and she gets it to you as she gets it. And she always encourages us first to follow the CDC and follow science on this, and not let politics get in the way of our thinking at this point. It's scary times. We all got to just, be well and do better.
Now, I want to speak to some of our youth that's out there. What questions do you have, and what are some of the myths as the young adults are having in your neighborhood, or your in your- or with the group of people that you hang with? Because everybody always have their own myths to what's going on, and
It's a
maybe
lot of storytelling going on. You're
yeah,
right.
maybe we can clear some of that for you. Do anyone want to raise their hand and speak on it first? Don't holler at one time. Yo, unmute it. Unmute it. I see it, your hand is raised. Like, I'm quite sure that you guys are worried about this, and you want some answers, or maybe you have some of your own solutions to the problem. That maybe we can get some of your ideas. We have a doctor, we have a nurse on board. You know, we may be able to get some ideas from you that no one's thinking of. Like,
Or we
So,
can ask them some questions on how their friends are acting, and are they staying apart and wearing their mask.
right.
so I have one question.
Okay.
For really anybody here, I wanted to ask, well, specifically more so Mr. Austin, is like what he does. I wanted to ask a question about his opinion on the progress of the vaccine, right, as of right now, and how it will be distributed once it is made.
Good question. I had that one.
Yeah. So again, my name is Nadir Austin. I'm a chemical engineer. I work in vaccine manufacturing. I don't specifically manufacture the COVID vaccine, although the company I work for has launched a COVID vaccine over 3 different projects to really, push and, get a vaccine out. As far as distribution of a vaccine, that's really not in my scope of understanding or knowledge, simply because I think that's more of a political and business question. From a
Wow.
chemical engineering aspect, we make it, we produce it, but we don't control where it's released to, right? That's more of our top business pharma guys who make those kind of decisions. And of course, it's political too, because I mean, we supply vaccines all over the world, right? But that we got to go through their different regulatory systems too. We have our FDA, China has their FDA, Japan has their FDA. So all of those factors come into play and how this distribution works and access. And we have to meet their quality standards too, right? I mean, China has unique quality standards associated with vaccines. So, every country has their own set of standards that we have to meet. And if for some reason we don't meet that, that affects the access to that particular country. So there's a lot of political and regulatory aspects to that that goes into that question of distribution. That's a question that's a lot bigger than me, and I really can't give an exact answer on that,
so.
unfortunately.
Nadir, can I add just to piggyback off of you? And so that's a great point because it is so political because we are in political times. And I usually I'm going to put this different hat on as an advocate. And so, what I would say to everyone, this is your voice right now to get up and vote. Like, if you are 18 and older, you need to get out and vote. If you are younger than 18, you need to go in your community, of course, practicing all of the processes to keep the exposure down and encourage people to vote because it is so political. But we as a community need to start coming together and help and advocate to make these decisions. And so that is just my plug there to say right now no one knows anything from an access perspective, um, but we do have an opportunity to work together on this.
Now, one, okay, yeah, go ahead, Dad.
Hi, Monica. Hey, Lady B, how you doing? And
Sir,
everyone
how
else
are
on.
you?
I'm
You're
all
board
right.
leader
Thank you.
of the third
Thank you.
division.
Yeah, yeah. It has third division. If you say ward leader for the third ward, but it says third division. I want to ask a question of Anita Harris. When it comes down to the vaccine, would it be good if they had a very diverse group of people that they was working with to try these vaccines that they're coming up with? I'm hearing that they're working with a large group of people, but sometimes if African American people, for instance, are still reluctant to be a part of of that development stage, what will that mean in terms of the success with the vaccine once it's developed, impacting our health?
And so right now today, and Nadir, because you live in here and you understand clinical trials, the vaccine in itself is going through different clinical trials. And when they have clinical trials, they do have to take random selection of people. And so what they do look for is a diverse group of people based off of a criteria. And race is one of those factors. They still need to factor that in. And so, one of the things we don't know is who is part of those clinical trials, but we know that it is some African Americans part of it. We know Africa is doing a lot of work around the vaccination itself. And so we know, and this is just a basic fundamental when you talk about it's very, very highly regulated, and it's regulated by a board called the Institute of IRB. And within IRB, they have very strict standards. So we don't run into anything like we did with the syphilis epidemic.
Oh yeah.
And so one thing that I'm very confident, and I believe in the science of medicine, that with the clinical trials, we do include, and that's not political, that is regulatory, highly compliant, and that's where that separation of politics and science comes from. And so I'm confident that our people are being tested.
That's
Do
comforting.
you agree, Nadir?
Yes, I totally agree. I mean, we're distributing this around the world. So it's critical that diverse populations are included in that, because the demographics, race can affect different risk factors, right? Race can have different risk factors associated with it. So you have to encompass the full demographics
That
in
makes
order to
sense.
understand which populations are more at risk for certain, side effects versus other populations. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I'm glad you kind of cleared the air with that because there's a lot of myths out there regarding that too as well. And just our culture from what we've been through, as Dr. Nita Harris said, with the whole syphilis um, experiment that went on, we're thinking like this is history repeating itself, and that was very comforting to hear. Um,
Sure.
So
yeah.
I want to bring a topic up as far as and I was talking to one of the students earlier. Just understanding, I think there's a lot of misconceptions around. Okay, I mean, I think people are asking about what's COVID, but I think the first question a lot of people should be asking, what is a virus, right? And how do viruses behave, right? So essentially, so it's people are like, well, I had somebody tell me, well, they got a cure for everything, and well, one, there's no cure for viruses. Let's be clear. And two, viruses are not alive. So you can't kill something that's not alive, right? So bacteria are organic. They're living. They need energy. They need food to grow. Cells are living, but viruses they don't meet the criteria of a living thing, you know? So they don't need energy. They don't need food. They just need a cell to replicate, right? They train the cell and they replicate within the whole cell. And they grow and they spread and they transmit as an infectious agent. So that's one thing I just want to, you can't kill something that's not alive, but you can deactivate it, right? You can denurture it. You can destroy the structure of it to prevent it from spreading, to prevent it from replicating. So these are like some like just things I just want people to understand as far as like virus and their behaviors. And they're, and I mean, there's millions of viruses, we don't know, science doesn't have the whole literature among all viruses, you know what I'm saying? So, I mean, COVID, we ended up detecting it because, it affected humans somehow, but, it's like, it's so much unknown science around this too, And I think that, with viruses itself, particularly like, okay, like we're saying wear a mask, we're saying, social distance and all that. Those are the solutions. Those are stopgap measures, right? Those are not permanent solutions. They can't be permanent solutions, right? I mean, they're not sustainable solutions, but they're stopgap measures until we get to a permanent solution, such as a vaccine. Another thing I want to go on to is like vaccine. Like, is that a cure? It's not a cure. Vaccines aren't cures, right? Like vaccines are preventative tools.
Preventive, right?
They're preventative tools that, depends on, the population, the percent population that's vaccinated and stuff. But, and I was just explaining this to one of the students, like they simulate your body, right? They teach your body how to handle the actual virus when you're exposed to it, right? It's a simulation that the vaccines send your body through, right? So I manufacture a vaccine. One of the vaccines I oversee the manufacturing of is something called the rotavirus vaccine. So rotavirus vaccine is something that infants get, at 3 to 6 months. And, they get like a couple dosage. It's an oral vaccine that they drink. And in this vaccine, it's like, well, can people catch the virus? That's a complicated question. I'm going to say with the rotavirus vaccine, no, you can't catch it. And the reason for it is because vaccines are they can be genetically engineered in different ways, but this rotavirus vaccine we make was actually genetically engineered in a lab at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And what that means is they took the rotavirus from an infant, a strain of the rotavirus from the infant, and a strain of the rotavirus from a cow, a bovine. So it was a cow, and they genetically engineered it and combined it into a single virus. And what my job is actually we produce the virus. So we take that master virus that was created, right? So we call it, master, it's a master seed, right? We take that master seed and we proliferate it. We reproduce it. How we reproduce it is we have cells. We use these things called vero cells. Vero cells are the cells of African monkey, right? There are some specialized cells that's been cultivated over time. It's a whole cell line. And we grow the cells and we inject the cells with the virus. Why? Because viruses need cells as hosts in order to grow, right? So we inject the cells with the virus, and then where my job comes in at, I come in with the separation process. So we separate the cells from the virus that we grew. And those cells that were separated, right, that's like our waste stream. And then our virus is our final product, right? So the virus becomes the final product. Now, people are like, okay, well, can you catch the virus? The virus is incompatible with humans because it was mixed. It was genetically engineered between a cow and a human virus. And it's incompatible, but it still stimulates the same antibody responses. It still stimulates the same responses. It still simulates the same, teaching your body how to handle the virus if you catch it. So it's just a little background about viruses and vaccines to try to break some myths here.
So can I add? I just want to add to that. That was great. That was super great. But just to put it in context to everyone, when we talk about viruses and we talk just about the pandemics, when you think of H1N1, it's not a cure. We don't have a cure for the flu. You talk about a stomach virus. Look how
No
that
cure.
stomach virus is no cure. We
No cure.
treat the
Common
symptoms,
cold. There's no
right?
cure.
It's no cure. So just think about all, just think about like HIV, no cure. It's a virus.
So let me
You
ask
know,
you this. So and yes, that does make sense. But the one thing, so if you get the actual COVID virus, you're subject to getting it over and over again, even if you come out of it. So maybe 2 years later, I might have it again because it's still dormant inside of me.
because you was exposed again.
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
With the flu virus, I was always taught that what they give you as a vaccine is a virus in and of itself. Is
Yeah.
that true for what they're going to develop for this virus? The virus, not the virus, the vaccine. I'm sorry, excuse me. The vaccine that they developed for the flu is actually they're giving you a virus to fight a virus. Is that similar to what they're going to be doing with this, to your knowledge?
I'm actually not sure of the technology. I hear there's some novel technology they're using to develop this vaccine. So some vaccines are, you call it attenuated. An attenuated vaccine is a weakened version of the virus, right? Enough to stimulate your immune response, but not, the full blown actual, disease or whatever, right? And then, like I said, some vaccines, for example, like the one I make, has been genetically engineered that you can't catch it, right? You're given the virus, but because it's half cow, your body's incompatible with it. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know the answer to that question. If they're going to actually, I wouldn't be surprised if there's an attenuated version of the virus, but I don't know the answer to exactly what they're doing for that.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you.
Hi, Myra. The RN at University of Pennsylvania. Can you share some of the experiences that's going on there at the University of Pennsylvania here in Philadelphia?
Yeah, I'm just trying to log in. Everything is based on prevention, precautionary measures. But first, I just want to say that this is a relatively new virus, which no one has immunity, which means more people are susceptible to the infection. So the best way to prevent the illness is to avoid being exposed to the virus. Okay. And you can prevent that by wearing the mask, okay? So that when you talk, you know how we talk is like droplets that come out of our mouth. Apparently, with this virus, is like aerosol. It stays in the air. They say even up to 3 hours. Okay, so like it can be in air, and you can walk through it an hour later, and then you put yourself at risk. Okay, so what we're actually doing at the organization is, of course, we're wearing masks for our different procedures. I work like in a gastroenterology department. We wear the N95s during procedures, okay, along with a surgical mask. And then the third device is a shield that we wear over our faces so that we don't come in contact with like any type of like bodily fluids or any type of like drainage at all. So the PPE, what we call protective garments, is what everyone at the organization wears, okay? And that's gowns, okay, as well as what I just went over. And we also practice like social distancing, being 6 feet apart. Even in our lunch rooms, they have like one person sit at one end of the table and the other at the other end. So that's a little challenging because, everyone is used to sitting around and communicating with one another. And now we definitely have to keep our distance. So we also avoid like crowds, okay? And you have to also make sure that you have, I want to say, purified air. Okay, make sure that you don't have like a high humidity level because that's that virus kind of lives in that tightness.
So, speaking on that and how the precautions that you're using, even in the hospital, and that everybody's pretty much been using who truly believe in the virus, what do you think about these young children going to school? Because one thing I have a problem with is that the school district of Philadelphia, the board members are having Zoom meetings. So if they feel like they have to separate in a Zoom meeting, why are they sending the children to school to congregate with one another and they don't even want to do that? I don't understand that at all.
Yeah, well, it's so much you don't even know about the virus. It changes weekly as we learn something new. Okay, so I mean, this is what a lot of people are alarmed with. Okay, but what I also forgot to say is, we also check everyone's temperature who actually walks into the hospital. Okay, and not only that, we do COVID testing on any person that's going to have a procedure. Okay, and that's where they take, like a Q-tip and they go up your nostril and they send it to the lab to see if you have the COVID virus. So anyone who has a procedure must have a COVID test done within 3 days of their procedure.
What if I just walk through the virus an hour before they check my temperature?
Okay, well, usually they said that you start to develop symptoms like within 4 days of the of being, I guess, impacted with the virus. Or
So I can be exposed the hour before I went into the hospital and it's not going to be detected.
No, not at that time.
no,
And
no.
now this is what they're
It's not
finding
that
is that
instant.
no, what they're finding is the exposure uh like 24 hours after exposure. So let's say from what we do is called contact tracing. And so let's say if all of us, it's five of us in a area together, and I start to have, we spent 6 hours and we weren't social distancing, we weren't doing any of that. We were doing our normal routine of things. And I had the disease. We were around each other for at least 30 minutes. I start to develop symptoms the next day. And so, from a contact tracing perspective, I get tested, I'm positive. Now we're in day 3 or 4. You guys get tested, or it's like, oh, Anita has COVID. So if you start having these symptoms, get tested. Or the questions during contact tracer, how long were you around that person? And they start asking additional symptomatic signs like fever. You have a stuffy nose. Do you have a decreased taste or
Also
decreased
sense.
smell? So they start going through symptomatic criteria. And then they'll decide you are high risk and you need to get tested. So I just want to put a plug in for CDC. If you go to CDC website, they have that questionnaire, and the categories are two. You're either low risk or high risk. And so all organizations are using that same criteria once you've been exposed to someone who is COVID positive. But they're also wanting to know, was that person symptomatic? So did that person have, a cough? Did they have lethargy? Did they have, all of these different criterias? And so that'll tell you what category you fall in from a risk factor, low or high. But I'm still under the opinion, this is just me. Again, it's not if I'm going to get it, it's when I'm going to get it.
I think that's the point. I mean, we're doing this for the youth, and that is my biggest fear. Is that, and what I'm seeing and witnessing is that, and I love, brother, the way you broke it down. I think maybe if we broke this virus down in layman terms to the youth, the way you just did to us as adults, then maybe they would take it more serious if they knew just what a virus was. Because these kids today are so fast; they're so microwave. They want everything in an instant. The news goes in their head and right out of their head. And what I wanted, Anita and Myra, is for us to put the message out to our children, because they, in Philadelphia, for instance, we just had this new contact tracing yesterday that they put out in the news that traced this virus back to various parties, backyard parties, beach gatherings, and things of that nature. So I don't think, in my opinion, that the youth is taking it serious as we are. And I really want to drive that home with them, to let them know not only could it potentially take their life, but the more serious factor of someone being home that's more vulnerable, and them, God forbid, affecting their grandparents or their parents. And I don't think that we're hitting that message home enough for the youngins. I don't think that we're stopping them, because they're out of control right now.
So I actually want to add to that, and I've been just engaging in some conversations with people as far as, like, Americans in general, just not taking it seriously. And I think part of the reason is, like, we're looking for a quick fix from a vaccine, right? I mean, we're looking for a quick fix from a vaccine. And there was an article that came out with this one CEO, this one pharma CEO, that just was discussing how basically, how the government in a way has basically been misleading people about the timeline of a vaccine, right? So I just want to be clear. The timeline of a typical vaccine is 15 to 20 years, okay? It goes through a very rigorous scientific process, very well vetted. Some vaccines have been expedited. Ebola vaccine took like 5 years to make, so we've expedited some vaccines. But the reality is that, even if they do develop, a vaccine phase 3, from their phase 3 trial, they come up with a vaccine, that's lab scale. It has to be scaled up to a manufacturing scale now. That's what I'm into, right? I'm into the scale up. So, and what that means is you have your lab scale distribution, you have your small amounts, but if you want to make millions, you got to make that on an industrial scale. And a lot of other variables come into play now, right? A lot of other things come into play. This process can take years just for the manufacturing of it, right?
Wow.
Can I add, because I have to jump off in a minute. I just want to, that's why I came up with the underpinning, or just the philosophy based off of the lack of sensitivity we have for safe practice. And so when you start thinking about the things that we put in place to keep ourselves safe every single day, and we just get used to it because our community is not taking it serious, I'm under the opinion that no one is worried about themselves, so they don't care about me, or my family. So now it's all about, when am I going to get it? So what do I need to do to make sure my immune system is boosted up? Because they don't take it serious. But guess what? Let me tell you something. Working in a pediatric organization and seeing multiple children pass away. It's not one, but multiple children passed away from COVID that are teenagers. Looking at these children,
that's what I want you to say.
Guys, when I talk to you guys about what I see every day, the death rate may be going down, or the death rate may not be as high as the elderly. However, the morbidity is high. When I say morbidity, I mean a 15-year-old is having a stroke and now is in a vegetative stage.
Wow.
People are walking around with multiple. Say that again.
I have a question for you related to that. So I have a friend, she's a nurse, and one of the things she keeps saying is COVID-related illnesses. So there's like, I don't know how true it is, but, I got family members saying, yeah, COVID's not actually killing people, right? That's something that, come up. And I just want I would like your feedback on that. Like, because is COVID actually killing people, or what is COVID-related? Like, what does this mean?
So because I got the COVID disease, it activated a response in my body to produce blood clots, which until gave me a aneurysm. So I'm dying from an aneurysm, but it's a COVID-related disease because I never had that morbidity factor, never had high blood pressure.
Prior, right.
However, when you guys also think about this, let's put this in context, because this is the reality that I live every single day. I work in what's called a command center. So I'm leading leaders that work in this command center that's setting up processes on how we're taking care of our patients. And so I work at a system level, not at a unit or organization. And I work within a medical center in Houston, Texas, which is the largest medical center in the world. You will not see 26 hospitals live on one block. This is the largest medical center in the world. When you have a pediatric organization opening up to take care of adult patients in the largest medical center in the world, do the math. Do the math. When you have children who should be going on their proms, who should be going to college, that at this point are having strokes, are having blood, the clotting factor, which is, you know, I can get into a whole nother factor with that. But now I'm having a heart attack at 15 years old, at 13 years old. Like, this is real. You have 6-year-olds passing away. You have children that is on what we call ECMO. ECMO is life supporting care that is being given. And so it's just not 40-year-olds and 50 years old. You turn the news on when they look at how many people died. Just start looking. My recommendation, not that I'm trying to scare you all,
but I want you to scare them. Scare them. Scare the shit out of them.
Scare you. But yet I'm trying to scare you. At the end of the day, I saw this quote on Facebook. I'd rather do 6 feet from a distance than 6 feet in the ground.
Under. That's right. I'll put that one up too.
Yeah, that's where I saw it from you. And so when you just start thinking about, safety measures. Like, what do we do so we can stay safe in our everyday living? This is a life and death situation. And think about, I can be the one that has a stroke. I could be that 15-year-old that have a stroke. And so out the window goes me living in my 20s. Out the window goes me living for my 30s, because now I have a stroke and then now I have to be fed through a tube in my stomach because I can't swallow. So we call it morbidity, COVID related diseases that normal people wouldn't get. That is what people are getting. And so it's truly, truly real. And then not only that, think about your healthcare work. So think about Myra, the nurses on the phone. Think about myself. Think about everyone who work in the healthcare industry. Just the strain that this is putting on the healthcare workers, because at the end of the day, our job is to save lives, but it's really, really hard when we are burnt out because the hospitals are filled up with COVID patients. Just think about all of that rooms that are filled. And now, because I have to come into the hospital as a 15-year-old, I have no one to take care of me. And so now that's a delay in my care, which is ultimately can be your death, which will increase mortality rate.
Wow.
And so at the end of the day, if someone says this is not real, I'm sorry. I'm passionate about this. I'm sorry if y'all see.
No, but
no, you should be.
No, and we feel the passion. No.
You know what, Monica? I just want to say real quick to Doctor. Now I want to correct myself, because earlier I said I was looking on the screen to see who that was talking, and I just saw Anita Harris on there. I didn't know you were a doctor, so please accept my apology. I know how hard you had to work. I know how hard you had to work to become a doctor. I know that's not an easy thing, and it's a great accomplishment, and you deserve to be called that. So I just want to let you know. Now, if you want me to call you Anita another time, that's fine. But right now, on this screen, I want to apologize for not saying that. I didn't know. I just looked and saw you. I didn't know you were a doctor.
This is family. This is family.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Dr. Cousin.
That's what I'm gonna call you. But what you said, though, and Lady B, and I appreciate you for inviting her and Monica and all. What you said was so profound, because it's one thing that you had to show up to work to help these people out. But it's not fair when you got people out there carelessly exposing themselves to this and putting your life in danger. That's the part that's not right. So I really appreciate what you had to say when you made
And
that.
I hope it hit home for this young generation because it feels like they're not going to take it serious until they lose someone in their family, until they witness someone in a hospital that they can't visit, until they actually have a homie, just like our children are killing each other with gun violence. I fear for them realizing that a classmate is laying in a hospital with COVID because they were all at the same party last week. That's the part I don't want to wait until it gets that bad. I want to send this message straight to them because, like I said, they're really not paying attention, and I don't think the majority of them are taking it as serious as we are, and they should. So I'm so glad that Dr. Harris is here to give us a firsthand account on just how many young people that she is seeing on ventilators and having strokes. 15 years old and the word stroke don't even belong in the same sentence.
That's right.
As far as I've ever known in my life, and I mean, stroke runs in my family. I've seen various family members have strokes, but trust me, they were all older than me. So this new virus, this new animal, this new thing that we don't even know about, this mysterious, invisible virus that's attaching to cells like the young brother just taught us is taking lives. And I don't think kids are stopping long enough to watch the news because they on Facebook and Instagram and worried about the next sneakers that they buy or who's turning up where next. I don't think any of them are paying attention. I don't think any of them have logged on to the CDC's website as much as they're logging on to friggin' Facebook. So that's what I wanted to say today is we have to collectively not drop the ball on them and figure out how we're going to drill the seriousness of this pandemic in their little hard-ass little heads.
Right.
I do want to add, Lady B, I just want to add, I mean, I'm 26 years old, so I'm pretty young. And I just want to add, like, a lot of us young people, we aren't three-dimensional yet. You know what I'm saying? Like, our understanding of life is not a 3D understanding. Like, especially when you're teenagers, you can't see certain dimensions of life. You know what I'm saying? To even take certain things seriously. So, I mean, I think this discussion is important and what Dr. Anita has brought to here so that we can give them a three-dimensional view of what's actually going on, and give them a more holistic picture from, especially Black people, from their own community, from their own people, of what's actually going on. So, great speech. And I just definitely hope, more younger people take this, serious,
Right.
So can I add one more thing just from a Black community? Mm-hmm. And I'm speaking from a mama perspective now, right?
Go ahead,
Dr. Mama.
See, at the end of the day, we are destroying ourselves. That's point blank, period. We are giving others ammunition to destroy ourselves. And so, you know what? I have a challenge for you all. I really do. I have a challenge for the youth right here. I want you to go back and reflect on if I got a COVID-19 related disease called a stroke. I will send this information to Monica. I'm going to send 5 different processes. I want you to visualize in your head if you got it, if you got this, if you walk around with this. So just like violence is killing our community, we have so many people that's close to us that died of gun violence. So if you think it's not the same thing with COVID-19, we need to be on some, we're not asking you to think like adults, but we're asking you to be here and be our future.
Yeah.
And so that's my challenge. My challenge is for you all to do some reflective thinking on what can I do to help decrease the exposure, because we're here for solutions. We don't have a resolution for the COVID-19 disease. We have a resolution for decreasing the exposure. We have a resolution for increasing safety awareness. And so that's my challenge to you all. What do you have? You're the future. We're looking for you all. We want you to drive our future. What do you have for us? Because we spread out the platform. Now it's on to you all. You have to make yourselves worthy that we can give you the baton. you all should be thinking about how you're going to sit in Nadir's seat, how you're going to sit in Myra's seat, how you're going to sit in Mr. Walter's seat, how you're going to sit in Lady B's seat, how you're going to sit in my seat. You need to think about all of those things.
That's right.
You need to understand tomorrow can be promised, but what are you doing to add to the promise? And so
Well
let's
said.
start thinking
I
about
like that. I like that.
very
agree.
different,
That's a good one.
very different. And again,
Yes.
I'm going to challenge you all. I'm a professor also, so I got to attend to my other duties.
Yeah, put another hat
but
on.
I want to thank you all for allowing me to be here. But my challenge is there. I would love to stay engaged. Virtual environments work. Just because I'm in Houston means nothing. I would love to, give you guys real use cases from this is a 16-year-old female that did blah, 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 blah. And this is what happened. I want to
think they
bring the
need it.
reality to you all.
Yep.
And then I want to put your picture to that use case.
Yep.
Absolutely.
I love y'all.
Thank you so much,
Take
Dr.
care.
Listen, doctor.
Thank you.
Bye, boo.
Wonderful.
Can I make a real quick point? I've been quiet. Can I make a real quick point?
Absolutely.
Yes.
And this is more directed towards people like myself and B and people that have a platform. What I need these kids to understand. You cannot believe everything you hear.
I know.
One of the reasons why we have such the spread that we have is because, and I'm gonna get a little bit political, and I apologize if I'm offending anybody, but we got a boo-boo the fool in the White House. I'm sorry, the Benny Hill show, as I call it, that's telling these ridiculous lies. And you got these younger people who really don't know. You have to be careful what you listen to. Listen to what they say and listen to what they don't say, because they're blatantly lying to you. So you have to do your research as well. Listen to all of the stuff that was said here tonight, process it, listen to the stuff that you're hearing and process it. Don't just look at the local news, because they're not going to tell you nothing. Start reading up, watch
Research
CNN,
yourself. That's right.
Watch it all. Watch it all. I even watch Fox. The reason why I watch Fox is because when I'm on the air and I'm talking about it, I want to know both perspectives. I want to know the truth, the lie, and the real facts.
You better than me. I ain't watching Fox. Sorry. Okay.
I want to know what the enemy has to say. So that's just me. So I know.
F them.
When I talk trash, I want that trash to be perfectly directed in the right angle.
But I hear what you're saying, because that's the problem. I mean, when we were coming up, our parents had to worry about who was around us. Right. Like what lessons? Who was the drug dealer on the block? Who was the gangster on the block? Who was the pedophile on the block? Your parents, you were close to home, and it was a bubble, if you will. Well, this generation has a whole globe, a global source of information that's coming at them every day with this technology. And they're so gullible. God knows they're gullible. They'll believe any damn thing that they hear or they see. I mean, I have to remind young people every day that pictures can be doctored. Pictures can be changed. You can't even believe a picture these days. You actually can't believe what you see, because someone could have doctored a picture. So I encourage young people out there, when you hear something, instead of just taking it for fact, you should do the research. Do your own research. And something that, I asked Dr. Harris, to scare the hell out of them from a firsthand perspective, and let, this youth know that she is seeing teenagers on ventilators dying every day, because I think that is the only way to hit them upside the head with it. I said something to my nephews. I have some 19, 21-year-old nephews that came running up in my house. I said, listen, I'm getting older, and I'm going to need your ass around to take care of me. So I'm going to need you to sit still, because I don't want to outlive you.
Right.
And that's the fact. That's the reality of it. I do not It's bad enough I got to worry about y'all with gun violence and what's going on in the core of our neighborhoods. But I don't want to lose you to this virus because as we all have suffered death in our life, and my own family has recently had people that we lost. You know, when you lose someone or someone's sick in a hospital, it's a time to come around them and hold their hand and show them love and visit the hospital every day with your prayers and your support. And when someone dies, there's a funeral and everybody gets together and they cry and they mourn together. We can't even do that now.
Right.
So like Anita said, can you imagine a 15-year-old catching this virus and his mommy can't come and hold his hand through this? Nor can a nurse give him that special attention because it's just too many patients. That is just hard to wrap my brain around, to realize that my child will be laying there in a hospital and you can't even go and see them. This is a whole different kind of animal.
Can't even see your own child.
I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't imagine. You know, and while they all tough in the streets thinking they know every damn thing, let them get sick. Oh, they turn into mommy's babies real quick.
That's right.
So if for no other reason, we can need to tell them, like, mommy's not going to be able to get you out of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Wear your damn mask and stop getting together on the beach.
Yeah, this partying has got to stop. All this, back in the day, we could do that. You could sneak out the house, go to a party, be back in the crib by 2, and everything cool.
But I put the car back in the parking space where it was. I had a hookup.
Right. Right.
I just want to add, Lady B, like, you know, I mean, there's so much misinformation out there, right? It's really hard to tell fact from fiction these days, right? And I think that that's why this forum that we just had is such a useful forum to, you know, I'm on the ground with manufacturing vaccines. Dr. Anita Harris on the ground with dealing with patients and stuff. Primary sources and asking questions are the best ways to get answers. You know what I'm saying?
Social, can I ask you a question, though, from your generation? How old are you again?
26.
26. Within your own group of friends, do you see your friends practicing social distancing? Or do you see them wearing masks? Do you see them washing their hands, taking this thing serious?
So I have
honestly,
I have 2 groups of friends. I got my coworkers and stuff that I hang out with that are my age, and they do take it seriously.
They know better, right? Okay.
They know better. You know, they're more scientifically trained in this kind of stuff, so they know better. But on the other end, no. No. I mean, people aren't taking it as serious, and I think I think a lot of the reason why people aren't taking it as serious is because there are so much misinformation out here about it.
Like I
mean,
right?
People are questioning, does COVID even exist?
Yeah.
Right? I mean,
some people are calling it, I've heard kids call it a conspiracy. I'm like, what?
Yeah, they call it conspiracy.
It's so much, but it's so many different conspiracies, so much misinformation. And like I said, I think forums like this, you know, where you see people that look like you and look like me, dispelling these myths and, you know, giving honest responses, I think that that's really helpful.
And this is something that I'm hearing a lot.
Just like I think that with the social ills that we have in our communities, from the gun violence and all, I believe that even though churches and masjids are not getting together as much as they used to, but when they do chance to communicate with their congregations, I believe that's a good opportunity for a discussion similar to this to take place. I mean, you could go to your scriptures and you could deal with how things should be. But right now we're in a pandemic, and I believe that will be a good opportunity if they have people wise enough to be on their Zoom meetings, like Dr. Harris or like you, Nadia, or other people out there.
Even if they're getting on the Zoom meetings, I mean, kudos to the young people that we have with us this evening that are interested in learning and knowing and making a difference. But at this point, I'm ready to just ride around in my car with a bullhorn on corners like, take your ass home and put your mask on. They're not coming to the mass jam. They're just not. They're on corners passing blunts in 40s. I just want to go back with a belt. I want to give me a 6-foot belt and just start whipping asses. Get your ass in the house.
And this is what I keep hearing. I'm going to still live my life. I'm not going to let them win. Them, they, who,
They who.
There is no they. This is a freaking virus. This is science. This has nothing to do with race. This has nothing to do with political affiliate. Well, kind of, but it's a virus. People, there is no they. The only
Yeah,
person
they
that's
don't
going to
discriminate. Viruses don't discriminate.
Yeah.
the only
So
person that's going to lose is you.
So
Take
do
it
we?
We must start speaking their language.
So, do we have any of the youth that want to comment on anything? You guys been very quiet.
They're probably scared to death.
You're normally not quiet, but I
Yeah,
want to
here's
know.
them, Lady B.
I
They scared
will
Lady
beat
B
your
will
ass.
have a big belt
Beat
whipping
your
their
ass.
ass.
I will beat your ass, but I'll fry you some chicken and give you a hug, though. I love y'all.
They scared B gonna whoop their ass. She got big old belt
Yeah.
and a big booty. She got a big name belt from back in the day with B.
Okay? Wow.
It's so missing. Yeah, I think that's why they're so hard headed these days because they took that out of the homes years ago, but
They need their ass whooped.
I didn't listen. That's why I had very good, respectful children, so. And then we have respectful children on here too. Abdullah, you have anything you want to say?
They're
Brian,
scared.
Brian.
Uh,
we, uh-huh,
so I wanted to add on a while ago, but I didn't want to interrupt either. So
uh-huh.
I was going to talk about the school thing specifically because, in my experience anyway, we found out about COVID before the actual shutdown was. So we found out, we coughed on each other. We were like laughing about it and coughing each other. It's like, it's funny too, it's not funny anymore. So I feel as though, I was going to say, I don't know the audience of this, I don't know the audience exactly, but I want to say, uh, if our parents are watching, please don't send your kids back because we don't listen in school at all. As a child, I can say we don't listen in school. We go to school, we do whatever we want to. That's that. You say don't touch each other in the hallway, we don't snap in the hallway. That's how it is. So if you send the school something that's like stay 6 feet apart, well, mask in school, we're not going to do that. Honestly, like as much as I take this seriously, I can't prevent my friends from slapping on me or getting on my face yelling at me or coughing at me. I can't do that. So that's putting everyone else in danger. So it's important to say no matter how you feel about the virus, how you feel about the procedures about preventing it, you can't trust your child to go to school and follow those procedures. As a student, anyway, as a student, we're going to go there and we're
Yeah.
going to.
I can
I'm not
totally
snitching per se. It's not snitching. It's information. It's just like if I go to school, I'm not following the rules anyway. Honestly, it's like to some extent, yeah, obviously I follow the rules to some extent, but like if there's like no high fives in the hallway, we have a rule at school, no dap each other up in the hallway, like get to class and that's it. Get to class and go to class in the hallway, don't play around, that's it. But like I'm in the hallway, if I see my friend, I'm gonna dap him up. I'm gonna say what's up, we're gonna chill in the hallway a little bit. But like if you say, hey, don't do that, don't touch each other, don't touch each other, that's it, stay away. We're not gonna do that. As much as we like, as much as we take it seriously.
I said that.
Yeah, it's like we don't listen. As much don't send us back. Don't listen to us. This one thing, don't listen to us this one time. This one time, don't listen to us at all. No matter what we say, just keep us home.
I appreciate your honesty that you guys are hard headed, as we were saying.
Right.
And that's going to get our youth killed because they are hard headed, and then you have the ones who don't believe, as we were saying, and it's a lot of them because, like our leader suck. He have all these misconceptions about this virus out here, and talking about how it's not a virus. It won't hurt you. We need to send kids back to school, get the economy going, and of course you guys will definitely pick and choose what you want to hear that's beneficial to you. You're going to hear whatever that's beneficial to what's going on at the moment, and y'all don't think of things that will eventually can harm you in the lifetime. So and I totally love your honesty, and I think that's so true. I'm a mom. I know. Y'all hard headed. I see it.
Yeah, and if we don't say anything else to the youth right now, because we've all been that age, we all want to fit in, if you will. And and how many teenagers right now are followers? It can take one ignorant teenager to pull a whole group of them together to follow that same ignorance. So I think if there's any message that we drill home, because the young man said that we're not going to do that. That was very honest for him to say, like, you can tell us not to talk in the hallway, but I'm going to give daps to my homie. We going to talk. Truly going to chase the little girl I like down the hallway. I got to talk to her because I'm trying to holler at her. These are the realities of that age. And let's talk about the younger kids, even younger than them, the elementary school kids. How do you tell a child that was running and playing and throwing a ball and hugging and sharing toys that all of a sudden they can't do that? That's almost impossible. So I'm all for not sending children back to school until we get some kind of grip on this animal. But I think if there's any message that we send home with them is to be unique and stand in their own, and don't feel bad about being different. If your friends say something like you corny, you drawn, whatever your languages are used these days for, not coming to the party, then let them go ahead and be ignorant, but be strong, be yourself, be an individual who knows better. And yeah, just don't be a follower. Work with your own mind and your own decisions and in your own future.
Listen, kids, it's one thing to be under punishment because you snuck out to go to a party, but it's another thing to be under quarantine in a hospital because you snuck out to a party.
With a tube
Ain't
sucked
that
up
the
your
truth?
butt.
That's right.
All we got back in the day was our ass whooped if we got caught at the door, which most of the time I did because I wasn't that smart to climb back. I leave it unlocked. I snuck out.
We didn't have all this stuff to worry about. That's all
Like
we
I
had
said,
to worry about.
our parents only had to worry about the block, and now you got to worry about your kids.
Yeah.
Kids are getting, pulled by sex traffickers on the internet every day because their mom put them on punishment. So they went up in their room and start soaking, and now they talking to this crazy predator on their computer, and now you can't find your child, and you may not ever see her again. That's the reality that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's the new narrative that we live in.
That's
Back
it.
in the day when my mom told me to do something, I was under punishment. See, I could go upstairs and turn on WHAT, and I was cool. We don't have that.
We get WHAT.
Yeah, I went there.
That's right.
That's right. That's right. And I made.
Don't be hating.
I remember that.
But they don't have that now. They have so much more that can get them into so much more.
I said it's so hard. I would not want to be a child of this generation. I just wouldn't. It's too much. It's just way too much. When I was coming up, I was always somebody, dare me to do it. I'm gonna do it because you dared me. So I probably wouldn't even be here anymore. Just on taking somebody up on a dare. Bet you can't, ride to the corner without stopping and ride your bike straight across the street. I was the kid that did that kind of dumb shit.
We all used to do that.
Just imagine what they're being dared to do now. It's unbelievable.
Right.
Well, look at these COVID parties that they're having. These kids are actually having parties to see if they can catch it. What kind of bullshit? What the?
Yeah.
It's so scary. I mean, I wish death on no one, not even people that I disagree with. But Herman Cain's death today, after attending Trump's rally in Tulsa, if there's any good that can come out of death, I hope that this man's passing was a wake-up call for those folks who feel like, they have a right not to wear their mask. I hope it was a message because God forbid, it's the first thing I said when I saw this rally taking place in Tulsa. I said, some of these folks are going to get COVID and some of them are going to lose their lives. And they probably were some that lost their lives prior to this man, but because he had a platform, you understand, and he was in government, they shed light on it today. But I bet you some of those same people that was in Tulsa that went home and lost a family member, I bet you they have a damn mask on now. Regardless of who they're going to vote for on November the 3rd, I promise you they have on a mask now. And that's what we need our young generation to do. And you know what? Y'all get fly with everything else. I say to the young kids that are listening, that are scared to speak up, B loves you. Don't be scared. But, bling your mask out. Make it part of your fly outfit. You know what I mean? It is going to be our new norm, but accept it in your own unique way. I'm seeing so many creative masks out there and the way people are choosing to cover up and stay safe. Look at it from that perspective. It's not such a bad thing. It's no different than the fly glasses that you're wearing now or the sneakers that you're standing in line to get. Make the mask a part of your everyday apparel and go on with life and enjoy your young life. But I want you to see another day. So do it in a safe manner. We're not saying this, kids, because we're hollering at you. We're saying these things because we love you. And I think not enough of you are being told just that. I'm not talking down to you and telling you that I'm older than you and I'm better than you and I know better and you don't know anything. That's not where I'm coming from. I'm telling you that I love you and that you're special and you're important and you're our future and we need you around. We need you around. Everything that I have said to you today is out of love. Each and every one of you that can hear my voice right now know that you are future kings and queens, and I need you to handle yourselves as such. Know just how special you are. And special people do the right thing, and special people don't follow idiots.
And wear this stuff. See this right here? You want to be fly? Y'all see my fly mask?
Yeah, be fly.
They need to know how valuable they really are because they have been taught
Well,
that
yes,
they're valuable.
that they're not, that they're not, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
That's the problem. If one thing that this virus, the thing that hurt me the most about it was that it happened at a time of this civil uprising. Because I am a marcher. I am a protester. I wanted to get out there with them young folks so bad and protest. But because I live with an 81-year-old uncle, I can't do that. I have to protect him. As bad as I want to be out there with my signs, screaming to the top of my lungs, because that's my type of stuff. I like that kind of stuff. I'm all about that good trouble that they spoke about, that John was talking about. I'm all about that good trouble. You know what I mean? Protest peacefully, nonviolent. I'm here for all of that. But
well, I went out there and protest and got cussed out by my wife because I didn't tell her that I was sneaking out the house.
you look, you done got in trouble with your parents, your wife. You just getting in trouble all the time, huh?
That's my middle name. I'm always in trouble for something because I'm always doing some shit I ain't got no business.
But no, Ron, I'm really serious. I think thank you to you and Monica for doing this and someone giving a damn about our youth and letting them know that we love them. And I want to do a lot more of this, not just about COVID, but this upcoming election. We got to push this thing home to them to make sure, that they're doing that. And while we're online, just in case they can take it back to their parents, the census thing is real serious too. I need everybody to be counted.
Yes, absolutely.
Absolutely, because this is going to predicate the dollars that we're giving for our health, our education, and everything else. And if you're not accounted for, you don't get a part of the pie. And that is the reality. So don't think that they're running these census commercials just to be running them. This thing is real. You know what I mean? So fill out the census and make sure that every able body, young people, if you're listening and you're 18 years of age or your big brother's 18 and he can vote, when we were coming up, my mama said, if you can't come back in the house unless you voted, you had to show her a little sticker or something to prove that you were at the polls that day and cast your vote. I want y'all to spread that message. While y'all on your way to the mall or doing whatever else you're doing, stop at the polls and cast your vote.
But we're bringing you on that. On those, we have 2 sessions on voting. Trying to we want people to know how much their vote matter and encouraging people to vote. And we also want to do a session. We're doing 4 weeks of Zoom. And the last 2 are going to be, we're going to be going hard on voting, trying to teach them how to use the system and what they can do to make sure their vote count if they can't get to the polls, and some of the changes that have been made. So the last 2 weeks we're going to be doing it, and next week we're going to be talking about the environment. Correct, youth? Next week is regarding the environment in our community and trying to make it better. So, you said you on every week, so I'm going to be sending you to Zoom every week.
I'm with it. I'm with it. It's time for some discussion.
Yeah.
I got another challenge too, if I could, for us adults.
What's that?
Kids the right information. Stop educate yourself better before you try to miseducate.
So you get there you go. Yeah.
Stop that.
Absolutely.
And these conversations need to be had, and I'm putting it out there right now. We're going to have a more. I'm inviting you to my show to let's continue to talk about this. And maybe these parents will listen because I know.
Look, I'm quarantined in the house. I ain't got nothing to do but talk.
Lady B, I'm not leaving the crib until 2025 because by that time, Biden to get this shit right. I'm not leaving the crib.
I don't think it's going to be that long, but I ain't coming out till it's time to celebrate my 40th anniversary. That's next year.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, everyone, I actually have to go now. But
Yeah, I was just getting ready to wrap it up to see if anybody have any because I know we went a little over because we started a little late, but I wanted to know if anybody have anything, any last minute questions
I
or
want to thank you, Monica.
before we
I
go.
want to thank
I
you,
do.
Monica, for reaching out to Lady B. Lady B is the best, and thank you, Lady B, for.
Thanks, Dad.
I appreciate you all for putting this together. Thank you.
Yeah, I
So
think
much.
it was awesome.
Hey,
Man.
thank you,
Great
young man.
conversation.
Yo, thank you, young man, for your information because I learned a lot from you today about viruses, and thank you.
Absolutely.
You're welcome. I'm happy I could help a little bit.
Yeah.
Even if it's a little bit, you know?
I'm going to bombard you with questions because I have more. I'm going to get your number. I'm going to be calling
Okay.
I have,
That's good.
I'll definitely
I'll
get
send you the chat.
Yes.
And Abdul, you said you had something you had to say
Oh,
too.
yes, I wanted to clarify something earlier. According to most research places, specifically more so Healthline, Forbes, and NPR, the protests for Black Lives Matter stuff like that, they didn't spike the COVID rates according to most research so far.
That's so true. Yeah.
It's most likely because of parties, according to NPR anyway. It was most likely because of parties as opposed to the protests themselves. The protests themselves didn't cause a spike. So, well, yes, pretty unsafe because altogether. It's important to note that they aren't really stupid for going out. They have a good cause and they're not causing too much of a problem. That is all.
Yeah, and thank you for speaking up because that is so true, sir. Not a lot of viruses has been spread from the protests. More so when people getting, partying and taking their mask off and drinking and,
Yeah, sure.
And I think the idea is with that about not a lot of viruses spread from the protests is that dilution, right? I mean, being outside, it's easier to catch the virus. It transmits easier indoors than it does outdoors.
Sure it does. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep.
That's awesome.
And
Anybody
again,
else have anything to say before we sign off? Any other children? Monica or Nurse Myra, she's still on the phone. Anybody want to close?
Nurse Myra, I just want to say you and all your co-workers at UPenn, tell them that y'all are angels. I don't know what we would do without you. I can't imagine doing what you do for a living, and you are a superhero.
Well, thank you. I just want to say the best way to prevent any illness is to avoid being exposed.
Absolutely.
That's it.
Thank you, Nurse Myra.
That's it.
Real quick, I want to make an announcement real quick. If anybody wants to look at this Zoom meeting, I'm going to send the download link to Monica and B. Me and you are now family. You said it, so
that's right. My brother that always gets caught. That's what's up.
Yes.
And I want some chicken. You just said it live on the air.
I got you. I got you. I ain't got nothing else to do but cook and talk.
Abdul said him too. He's waving. He want his chicken too.
Okay. All right, I got you. I got you.
But I just want to say,
everybody, stay safe.
If anybody wants to watch this later on for your own pleasure and especially youth, share this with your parents so they can hear the information. Like I said, the download link, I will send it to Monica and I will send
I'll have it for everyone.
Right.
Awesome. Thank you for all your technical help.
That's awesome.
Yes. Thank you, kid. Thank you so much. I was going to get off and call you and thank you, but I can say it now.
I love you, money, dope money.
Now. I say all my thank yous now. But I love you guys. Thank you so much.
Love you. Awesome. Y'all take care. Great meeting. Great.
It was a great meeting.
I love you, Lady B, as always.
Bye-bye.
Thank you to our youth, the West Philadelphia Environmental Justice Council. Thank you so much.
That's right.
Enjoy the rest of your day, okay? Your night.
Yeah, it's nighttime.